Welcome back. And it has been dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be kicking it on with the San Francisco Shock and the Toronto Defiant. And as far as playstyle, composition, we shouldn't expect too much different, right, Matt?
No, I don't think so. And I think Toronto, obviously some changes for their team coming in, the Shock as well. But for the Shock, we haven't heard much talk about their demise as we did earlier in the season. It seems like they've got everything back on track and they're rolling.
There was this narrative going around, wasn't it, that the Shock were not themselves, or they sort of lost that winning edge. And obviously, with Sinatra's departure from the team, there was some questions raised, but it was always accompanied by the caveat that the Shock are stacked with talent in their roster. I mean, there's so many sick players sitting on their bench. One of those sick players last year was Nevix, who now, of course, is on the Toronto Defiant, the Shock's opponents today. And let's talk about this team, because there are some recent changes with the departure, Matt, of Kellex.
Yes, Kellex retires. Cruz gets traded from the Paris Eternal over to the Toronto Defiant. You already see he's in the starting lineup today. So they value the main support and the calling of Cruz, that you want to play him this early on.
The last time these two teams went head-to-head, it was the Shock winning 4-0, but it was over a year ago that these two went head-to-head. Much has changed, of course, and the Toronto Defiant roster is looking incredibly different. We sat down with Nevix briefly and got some insights from him about how he felt about Cruz coming onto the team, what it added, and how we felt going forward.
So Cruz brings a lot of communication and structure and leadership to our team, which is really helpful.
And there you go. Clearly, believing that Cruz is going to be bringing quite a lot to this team. And the Toronto Defiant now, they did have Roki on the bench. Yeah. Clearly still wanting to develop him a little bit more. Cruz, a veteran, of course. You may remember him from the Paris Eternal. But he hasn't been getting much play at all, of course, since FD God has been on the team. So a lot of talent sort of being incubated on that Paris roster. Now we get another chance to see what Cruz can bring. But he's up against quite the roster, Matt. The San Francisco Shock are looking strong once more. A 5-match win streak. They've got MVP sat on the, MVP candidates at least sat on the bench. Role stars at that. But today, it's Architect, Rascal, Smurf, Choihyobin, Violet, and more.
And what's interesting about this lineup for the Shock is, it's so much Tracer we've been seeing, no Striker in the lineup, whereas Striker on Tracer is tremendous. This lineup, though, with Architect and Rascal does give them the ability to play Tracer Sombra, but also the flexibility to move on to other things as well. With no Reinhardt, you don't see Super in play. It'll be Smurf who gets to start.
Yeah, he is out of the pool this week. The hero pool includes Ashe, Reaper, Reinhardt, and Brigitte. And our map pool includes Oasis, Rialto, Kings Row is back in the pool, of course. Hanamura and Nepal are to be played. And if you've been watching so far today, you should expect to see compositions line up with plenty of Dive, plenty of Tracer Sombra, Winston, D.Va, and of course Moira with the Lucio. But some teams have tried to change it up, do things a little bit differently. Dallas tried that earlier today, and it didn't work. So we're starting to iterate pretty closely to what we think is the ideal team composition, Matt, in this hero pool meta.
And then, all the regions playing something different, right? I know APAC showing some different things, some Symmetra play from the Shanghai Dragons, double shield, Hangzhou,
and from the Spitfire.
Spitfire as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the Shock and Toronto's take is. Toronto working some new players in. Maybe they go for an option of a little bit slower with a double shield.
Okay. This, I feel, plays into the Defiant strengths. I don't really know. I mean, Surefour plays both Tracer and Sombra, right? So
Logix is a good Tracer.
Logix plays Tracer, but the McCree seems to be where he wants to be today. Now, this will get pressured. This composition will be heavily pressured by the dive. I think a lot actually comes down to Nevix's accretions and just how easily the Shock can find these pickoffs. But hey, different comps, Matt. Let's assess how they match up.
And you also don't know if the Shock want to play this into the double shield. If the Shock see this, do they want to switch to something that includes Echo? Do they want to play a mirror of their own? As this could be a very difficult composition to dive.
I think if you're going to play Echo here, you have to bring along the Mercy, and both are still at risk of getting ruined by Logix. So the Defiant playing a very close together, very durable composition, go first. But look at the flank back. So much attention being garnered by Choihyobin that the rest of the Shock just goes straight through the back door, and Yikes! The Defiant dominated. Nevic's able to find a kill on Architect there as well, but yeah, they are running extremely low. The new edition Cruz is in trouble.
Yeah, that fight does not last long. The San Francisco Shock, they allow Toronto to move a little bit forward. They take some position on the point, but then once Toronto gets dove on, they have no course of action. You lose your McCree, you lose your May right after. Nevix will switch to D.Va, so that's the answer they have right now, is to just kind of spot check more defense matrix for more protection on the backline.
Yeah, it may be more of a band-aid than a cure. We will see. Beast has already had to use that Fortify, and the Primal Rage from Spurs now was dispersing a lot of the Defiant players. Though he wasn't really satisfied with the effect it had, he backs out. San Francisco's first attempt at breaking down this comp doesn't go well. They're going to try once more now on the back of the Coalescence here. Heralding the start of each fight with a new ultimate committed. They find Karib here. Key healing is down for the Defiant. There's a lot of big bodies for Toronto. They need that healing output. It's just not going to be there now. An Architect may be poised to punish that with a good pulse bomb placing.
And we'll see what he decides to do. That's going to be an EMP coming in from the Shock, and that'll be a sound barrier from Cruz, but it does not connect with anybody but himself. Yikes. I believe he's actually on the other side of the wall, and he doesn't actually get around the corner to connect with anybody.
Not a good start. You absolutely needed the sound barrier to be good in that fight. You'd already lost your Moira. And after the EMP, your Orisa was rendered essentially useless. And still, the Defiant don't change their compositions. They definitely believe in the Blizzard for good reason, but it's going to be hard to catch many San Francisco players inside this. They're all so mobile.
They have to use the Blizzard just like a counter dive, right? They have to let the push come in from the Shock and then just Blizzard them right around the Orisa.
Cruz down. Oh no, Cruz finding Violet, should I say? Nice early kill from him, always known as a more aggressive Lucio player. He was a Genji player for the longest time before switching into that role. Extremely vocal, a great leader, and he finds that crucial first kill on this fight, and the Shock will have to concede the point.
They do get it to 99 though, so now with Toronto in control, we'll see what they can do if they can get into the choke. You still have this Blizzard threat from Surefour, but like you mentioned, when do you decide to use it? I think you have to use it like if they clump up and dive onto your targets. You see land of these May right clicks, putting the damage at range.
I mean, you feel like how about holding this, right? The more time you spend without having to use the Blizzard is guaranteed sort of percentage accruing time. Now, Nevix also has a self-destruct, but it's a supercharge from Beast that's interesting. Now, this all goes to waste if Rascal gets an EMP off, because Surefour's trying to be reactive with the Blizzard anyway, so we can't preempt the Sombra.
Yeah, if you dive in and then they go for like a Bongo plus the Blizzard, you can just EMP all of it right away, which would be disastrous for Toronto.
The round's over.
Yeah.
The round's over from that point. Okay, Surefour isn't hit by the Blizzard. He goes through it,
but it's probably too late though.
Well, maybe not. They can bring it back here. Look at this. The Shock had to commit so deeply because they're diving. There's no other choice. You either commit fully or you lose. So many of them are caught in that Blizzard. Surefour, it pays off him holding onto that ability. Chokobin, though, is able to stay alive long enough, and now the pressure's starting to be felt by the May. Still, though, cool enough for the ice not to melt, and Moth is picked off with a tidy little right click. The Shock did retake the point during this, so the longer the fight goes, Toronto aren't getting closer to winning the round. And that hack, oh no! Surefour maybe forgot what he might be dealing with, but there's no chance to put a wall up and escape behind it, and that may have cost the Defiant dearly.
So Blizzard in response is good. At first it looked like it was going to be too late, not enough, but they're able to pick some kills off of it. But once Surefour is the only opportunity to stall on the point and he gets hacked, it is game over.
I think the big thing there is that the Shock managed to take the point because they forced the Defiant off when they dive, and the Defiant play reactively. But yeah, I like the Blizzard there because if you can use it before getting EMP'd or without getting EMP'd, you're guaranteed to probably get more than one person frozen because you're going to get focused down. They're coming for you. You are the May, you are a priority after the McCree, and just throw Snowball down at your feet and you know, have a Winter Wonderland to yourself. Let's see how this went down.
Yep, we'll take a look. It's going to be Rascal coming in, the EMP up. That was Cruz. It's a body block there from Smurf, it looks like. That was nice.
It wasn't his fault at all. Yeah, nothing he could do about that one. That is unbelievably big brain of Smurf. Keeping him in that alcove, and that's just gut-wrenching for Cruz to realize what happened.
Here's what's interesting as we move into this point. The Shock, they decide to match. And you can make an argument that the Shock are better matching this in terms of the players they've started than any other roster they could really put out there, right? You know, they always play Smurf on the Orisa, Choi on Sigma's really good. And then, you know, the Architect Rascal combo of McCree May, It's really strong for the Shock. They end up losing this first fight, though, as Toronto will take the point.
Now, would I be wrong in saying that our player of the match in the grand finals was Choi Hyobin?
No, he was.
Sigma player?
Yeah, he was the player of the match.
Yeah, so he was, I mean, in the most important game of the year, he was the best player on the field at the time. Now, the Shock, yeah, okay, so you say you like them with this composition, but betting against Logix on McCree is always a risky bet.
I mean, true, but I think, though, for the players that the Shock have on their roster, like, this is the ideal composition for these players. That'll be Nevix getting D-Max rather quickly. That'll be the Batista Amp Matrix drop from Violet here, so everybody trying to hide for Toronto.
Oh, that Coalescence did nothing. Absolutely nothing! In the San Francisco Shock, I mean, the major point of difference between these two right now is not only the Sigma, but also the fact that San Francisco have Batista. So when that amplification matrix comes up, yeah, Kariv is doing some respectable healing over time with Coalescence, but the amount of burst available when you have McCree, May, Sigma all behind that window is too much to out-heal.
And now you can kind of cycle some of these big damage abilities for the Shock, where you're going to have the Batista window. You also have the supercharger of Arisa. Put down a lot of damage.
Deadeye into Gravitic Flash. Nice wall, though. That really makes it hard for Architect to get big plays off that. Good response by Shawfort. Blizzard thrown down by San Francisco now, so the Toronto Defiant get completely split. Shawfort tries to go for a Blizzard of his own, but Rascal, the only one seen to be caught in that. He icebox immediately, and then there's an Immortality field. I mean, San Francisco, Matt, this is absurdly clean. Very tidy play from them.
I mean, they're crushing, right? I mean, Logic's just trying to get back to the spawn, hang out. As he switches to Widowmaker, maybe trying to catch somebody off guard, pushing a little bit too aggressively. It's going to be for nothing. And now Toronto, they're in a tough spot. They have the Coalescence to use, but do you want to use it just walking into the Amp Matrix?
I think you get blown up.
Because you want to get aggressive behind Coalescence, but obviously you can't walking into the window of Baptiste.
Oh, they're trying it now. Okay, so one side is walled off. There's only one way for the Defiant to come. Deadeye, Architect happy just to clean off the Orisa. Fair enough, too, because Coalescence is in play. You can heal that Orisa up so fast. So make hay while the sun shines and get an early kill if you can. Dirty Architect gets in there with the flashbang. Doesn't complete the kill, but is still relentlessly looking for a flanking opportunity. Great Maywall from Rascal as Nevix tried to get through it, find a kill. Self-destruct goes over the top here. Doesn't find anything. Logix, he's got himself a couple of kills there, sitting in the back and allowing Nevix to sort of create a lot of the threat. Nice work by Toronto.
A massive
San Francisco
fight win.
Get interrupted.
Massive fight win for Toronto. They're able to win that, even though the Shock used both of their support ults. The Amp Matrix plus the Salon Barrier is now, when the Shock come in, it's going to be Surefour lingering off to the side. You can see his player icon through the wall as he's got a Blizzard potentially coming on a flank.
Can the Shock respond to this? They do have a Lucio. He's not spotted though. Surefour, he gets exactly what he wanted here, and yep, the double freeze is going to make Architect hard. Well, hard for him to get out. Nice Immortality field deployment, but it's way too late to really save him. Now, the Shock are in trouble here. Perfect setup for Surefour.
It was a really nice halt from Beast to set that up. He halted everybody together. They threw the Blizzard down right on top of it. Violet tried to save everybody with an Immortality field, but they deal with it, then kill the remaining players of the Shock. Is Toronto getting close to winning this round. Only one more fight.
Yeah, I like Toronto's chances here too, Matt. They have both support ultimates in play. Architect takes a bunch of damage. He has to get in though. There was a wall. Moth is missing. Rascal loses his Blizzard, so nothing's going right now for the Shock, and still they persevere. Beast goes down to Violet. Amplification Matrix yielding a kill, but Corey was able to pick Violet off behind the rest of his bulkier teammates. He gets two. Again, it's Moira. 3 with the damage. And the Toronto Defiant get the fight that they want right after a setup with the May. Very pleased, I'm sure they'll be now to stay in the competition here on Oasis.
All right, so we get a mirror matchup of the May McCree and the Toronto Defiant come out on top. So this one will go down to the wire. So we'll see what these teams decide to do. I think it's really more on what the Shock decides. Do the Shock want to match? Do they want to play the dive like they did on the first point? It looks like their intent is to match.
San Francisco. Do we get a similar comp? These two teams look much more interested in playing around the double shield than most others. Now, we know this of Toronto, actually, Matt. They've been doing that all season when they can. We even see them try the Orisa Zarya with the Doomfist combo sort of quite a few weeks back. So they will apparently default to double shield or at least that Orisa when they have the opportunity. With Smurf in the lineup for the Shock, I mean, this is a similar composition to what they won, you know, the Overwatch League last year with.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they go with the Baptiste instead of the Moira here, as that's really the only difference between these teams, is Smurf gets walled off, they're able to keep him alive, but Rascal gets knocked off the side.
Okay, some healing needs to happen
there
here.
Goes another one.
Yeah, nice May walls there, looking very good. And San Francisco too slow to push up there. They got caught inside that little hallway. Cruz just sending it with the rest of his team.
Toronto gets control of the point first. So this is our first time really in NA. We've seen an extensive period of like double shield type of play. Where now we'll see Toronto on the high ground. How do the Shock decide to approach this? They do switch to Violet on Moira now. So, so they moved away from the Baptiste.
Perhaps a little bit of respect finally being shown. Or perhaps Moira is just going to be safer for them. Let's see what happens. Rascal playing quite far forward. Okay, they've managed to isolate Beast. He has to go for a Fortify really quickly. Architect attempted to get a flash on towards Nevix. Beast is so low that the Shock now get to take all of this space. Nevix is still trying to maintain some sort of presence, but that Coalescence had to be brought out to keep him alive, and Logix just finds somehow Architect's head as it strays violently across the point. And again, the McCree play this time sends the Defiant forward. A timely Coalescence from Curry.
And look, Toronto, they control the high ground here as well because they control the point first, which is going to be massive because the Shock, they're walking directly into a McCree, Orisa Supercharger, all these like big power ultimates. And the Toronto Defiant have the high ground advantage if they so want to take it.
Dangerous territory now for San Francisco. Something has to change. There's going to be two sound barriers available in this fight, and both teams use them instantly. Shawford tries to find Violet and cut the resources of healing at the source, but the sound barrier prevents him. Logix, though, is not stopped. Double Deadeye for him. Violet now doesn't worry so much about the Supercharger, more about the Moira that deployed it, but the Shock are running out of players, Matt. And the Defiant look better with this kind of setup.
Yeah, I mean, they look great, as now Toronto just one fight to win the map, as Architect's going to switch to Tracer here in a last ditch effort. Smurf over to the Wrecking Ball. So all you have is Rascal's Blizzard.
Yeah. This smacks of desperation.
Oh, they get walled off. Oh, they barely touch.
They get there, yeah. It was almost like the end of round sound was trying to play, but then was interrupted. So what do the Shock do with this composition now? Smurf's on the Wrecking Ball. It's good stall, but doesn't have good target focus and damage distribution. Kareev's got healing for days, though. Coalescence from the backside, and Rascal gets caught. Again, a bit more of an offensive take on this flex support role, but Logix is still kept alive. Kareev is balancing his duties admirably here, keeping the rest of his team alive, and Logix gets his 10th final blow for the round. So many huge Deadeye kills. That is 6 out of 10 of Logix's kills from his ultimate. That's a big deal. Chokyurban buys 2 down with that self-destruct, but eventually has to return to the point and do it the old-fashioned way. Smurf was hoping for a knock-off there as he rolls through. Adaptive Shield used. Coalescence now on the point. Smurf is alive still.
What is going on?
The Beast over the edge. Smurf now looking for Cruz in the backline. He's got himself the minefield. Tracer returns to Nevix's D-Suited, and the San Francisco Shock dig everything in. Claws, toenails, heels, whatever.
It is like just Smurf alive for a while, and he gets 2 knockoffs just rolling around the center pillar with a Coalescence coming in at the end. That is brutal.
It's the Coalescence, man. That's what really lets him do that.
It's brutal for Toronto, though. I mean,
and it's unbelievable value getting a knockoff on Orisa, Matt. That is.
He got 2. Bonkers. He got the Moira, and then he ends up getting the Orisa. As now Surefour gets a pick in the next fight.
Cruz, okay, he was actually in midair there, goes for a sound barrier, wasn't actually taken down by the pulse bomb at all, so that works out nicely for him. Logix is trying to, well, protect, I think, his teammates there, as we did see Chokyurban on the high ground, trying to mess them right up. Nevix's micro rockets, though, have claimed Rascal. Smurf, this is not where you really want to be swinging. He does get a good hit and a decent bit of adaptive shielding, but Architect is now down as well. Toronto just end up playing the safer composition. The Shock are stuck playing with their stall comp, and they're going to commit a sound barrier now to it. Chokyurban, unfortunately, didn't benefit from that at all, so he is easily dispatched by Surefour. And the Shock now can only play with 1 or 2 players at a time that are alive. One more icicle from Surefour seals the deal. And the Toronto Defiant look revitalized with the entrance of Cruz, and they will take map number 1.
It's a huge map win for Toronto. Just getting off on the right foot with Cruz in the lineup, and they looked really good with that double shield, something we haven't seen from a lot of teams in NA this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, both teams looked like they were happy to mirror that composition. I thought that the dive would still work. It looked like on Oasis that San Francisco was still getting value out of, pressuring in with Tracer and Sombra. Interestingly enough, though, they made a switch. It might be this permutation of the roster has a greater affinity for playing those heroes. We know Chuhyobin is possibly one of the world's best Sigma players. Yep. There's definitely challenges to that title. But when it comes down to it, the McCree play looked better from Logix. He was able to get a lot more done. But the Shock have plenty more maps to prove themselves here. This is not the kind of series they want to go down in, and so far, it's looking good for Toronto. So stick around here and let's see if the Defiant can maintain this early lead.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
저희가 이번 시즌 넘어오면서 좀 초반에 주춤했던 게 좀 있긴 하지만 그래도 팀이 이제 잘 적응해 나가면서 이번 5월 플레이오프에서는 저희가 그래도 무난하게 다시 또 우승할 수 있지 않을까 좀 그렇게 생각합니다.
Plenty of confidence for the San Francisco Shock coming into this match. Rascal felt like they were a shoo-in essentially for the main tournament, but they've hit a little bit of a road bump early on. Even the Wrecking Ball couldn't get them over at Matthew. Oasis looked a lot better for the Defiant, especially when it came to playing the Reaper and the May with the Orisa.
Yeah, and Toronto has looked good in a lot of their series. They've started off well. They just haven't been able to translate any of them into, well, a lot of them into wins, right? So they do make a sub coming into map number 2. You will have Agilities coming in for sure so this will be on Rialto. Maybe they want to do a little bit of a throwback and play some Bara here. Maybe like or even like Echo if you wanted to. So it'll be interesting what Toronto decides to do because they looked good with Sure in playing the May in map number 1.
I wonder, we've seen some Batiste play already, teams valuing, or at least San Francisco valuing that amplification matrix A lot of teams on this map, if you think back to sort of late last year, were playing that Farah. So you've sort of teased something that we may see Agilities play. Architect and Rascal both are prolific, but Rascal's stats on Echo last week were bonkers. He was top in final blows per 10 minutes, sticky bombs kills per 10 minutes, and third in focusing beam kills per 10 minutes now as we head into Rialto. So I want to see it. You know, a lot of teams have sort of decided that it's less safe. They'd rather play around an EMP than around a duplicate that may or may not get any value. Come on, Rascal plays everything. He's that kind of player that just has a hero ocean.
EMP though is so impactful. It's easier to safer to farm up, and it just like tends to have better results, right? I mean, that's like I don't really think there's like a huge argument in the Echo over Sombra space, at least right now. Especially if you're going to play dive.
That's right. Echo is maybe a bit more exciting, and you can liquefy enemy tanks when it comes to focusing beam, but you want consistency. You want less peaks and troughs and more output over the course of a series or a map, then maybe you go for the Sombra. Unless the Shock want to go with Rascal on the Echo here. It could just be a tease. Toronto, though, okay, wow, these guys do not want to play dive. Categorically. Beast does not want to play.
But you have to have a reason that you're bringing in Agilities for Surefour, because we've seen Surefour being able to play the Mei, right? So if you're going to bring in Agilities just to play Mei, and maybe they want to play some kind of like something different on offense, I don't know, but... Well,
yes, I would say if you're substituting a player and they come out straight away and just play the same thing, it's either this was a preset that Agilities would play map number 2 regardless, or he's got something up his sleeve for the attacking side. Either way, we're going to have to wait and find out. What did the Shock come out with? Double Shield, Echo McCree, and No Mercy here, pairing with the Echo. I
love this. Moth on the Zen. So we get Moth, Zenyatta, Violet, Baptiste here. You get a lot of damage coming out from the Shock.
I'm good with this. Let's see how it plays out. The Shock are going to be much better at challenging than high ground now with Rascal, able to do what he does best, but Architect just finds Logic's down range. The Holt was thrown out in his direction. Rascal gets to come in from above with Nova 3 active right now. He can feel much safer about playing a bit more aggressively here, and that is what he will do. Focusing beam. I guess it also gets a damage bonus when Immortality Field is below half health, so they get rid of that pretty fast.
Yeah, as that's where the Shock's composition is going to excel, where Toronto now has to kind of take the fight to them. And when you take the fight to them, you can just drop the Immortality Field, and then the Echo and the McCree can do a lot of work and burst some of these players down.
No attempt at touching here. They just want to maintain some position on the bridge, but the Shock really just pounding their way forward now. We'll see Toronto. Like, what do they have as real sort of showstoppers map? Now, I guess they have the Blizzard here. Maybe the Gravitic Flux, but sort of no EMP to, really impede San Francisco before a fight. They also don't have Coalescence, so it will have to be maybe Deadeye window combo.
Man, this is this looks like almost something we saw, in previous weeks with the Echo, right? Like a double shield, you can play Echo with double shield, you can play with dive. This side though, we see double shield is just slowly making their way through the map. So we'll have a duplicate here soon for Rascal. Who does he try and go for?
Sigma. All right, he's going to get frozen awfully quick. He's able to very, very rapidly deploy a shield for himself, and he can safely build up a Gravitic Flux here, man. I mean, how easy is that? You just make sure your hyperspheres bounce around a bit. Cruise will be very low when he lands. Rascal was hoping to sort of preset some of those hyperspheres, and that was a perfect little accretion. Whether he intended to hit that or not doesn't really matter. He does go down eventually after it comes out of his transformation, and the Shock, I mean, trying to apply pressure, but they didn't really do much with Rascal's transformation.
No, and it's wild that Toronto is able to withstand all of that without having to use a support ult of their own. San Francisco, they want to end up winning this fight. That'll be a Transcendence from Moth. Oh, Logic so lines him up with the Deadeye. 2 with the Deadeye, flashbang, headshot on the Moth. Another kill on the Rascal as Logix gets 4 in the fight for a win.
I mean, this is where the Thank Mr. Logic's meme came from in the first place. It was a McCree switch. And that exact game, he was actually playing really badly until he switched to McCree. And then he completely dominated. I don't think the Shock really have a like-for-like answer right now with this particular roster. Maybe like Ansan Sniper can come in and play the McCree. Obviously, we see more Widow from him in general, but Architect has not been able to outdo him in the last minute or so.
Yeah, I thought about that as well when I was like, oh, maybe this is the best look they have in terms of like McCree and May. And I was like, well, it's like Ants is a fantastic McCree player, so maybe like him or Architect, but you just don't have that flexibility that you probably need.
So what's this amplification matrix for? I guess just to force the shock to hide.
Yeah, buys time, I guess. It's,
I mean, I don't think that feels good. It's not enough time to justify it, really. It's such a swinging ultimate.
Just wait till they come to you, right? I mean, they're the team on offense. They have to move the car.
Cruz not damaged in midair, so we'll drop down to safety. That does force the immortality field. Maybe that's worth it if you're the shock. Amplification Matrix also thrown up, trying to make short work of Beast's shield. And Rascal lines up with the hold there. Trying to get sticky bombs in. He got a lot of damage from it, and he duplicates a May. Oh no, this could be a quick blizzard, but no, he is shut down. It doesn't matter though. Finds 2 kills, and as we know, May is valued for much more than just her ultimate.
Yeah, they're fortunate he didn't get a blizzard off there. It would have been even worse, but
that would have been terrible.
Yeah, the shot's still able to take the point. Keep the cart going, and they pick up a kill here on Logic's late at the end. They will lose Rascal, but he'll be able to get back in the fight. Pretty quick, though.
Yeah, fortunately, he died early enough that he still gets the new spawn and not the old one.
Yes.
That would have been a long walk back, even on the Echo.
Yeah, at that point, you would have like swapped a Tracer, just darted your way back, and then swapped into the other spawn.
Almost faster to jump off the map again.
Yeah.
Not actually. Probably about 6 seconds faster to just go normally, but still. Smurf close to a supercharger here. Another Jedi from Logix could be devastating, but this part of the map is extremely hard to get value on that from. You'd have to flank, or you need a gravitic flux or something to combo with it. So the shock move out essentially into the open. There's a Maywolf thrown up early on. Holt's combo. Decent damage to follow, forces the immortality field. Architect's playing an off angle, and Logix, yeah, he's looking for the play. He must be feeling himself this game. He does find the flash, but there's too many shock members close together.
Yeah, so if he would have came another step further out, he would have been dead. And well, there he goes. He gets taken out. Nice accretion, the Amp Matrix plus the follow through from Violet.
Okay, Transcendence had to be used here for the Defiant, but Kareem can't be happy with that one. 2 players failed to benefit from it. Mock uses his later on now, so Smurf barrels forward, says, well, we have no reason to sit back. Deadeye being used, bit of zone from Logix, but he was forced out of line of sight by a Discord orb. And San Francisco finished with a very healthy time back.
Oh yeah, above 2 minutes on Rialto. It's tremendous, as we see a lot of times teams get stalled out towards the end, trying to get this payload all the way the distance. I want to see something different from Toronto. If you're going to sub in Agilities and just put him in on May, why didn't you just stay with Sherfor out there? Because they looked good.
It could be because Toronto may be expecting...
but...
Well, Toronto may be expecting San Francisco to go back to playing dive here. And maybe they bring Agilities. Maybe they want to try Farah against the dive somehow. I mean, Farah versus Sombra feels kind of gross, but it could be... Agilities came in for a expected composition that never panned out. And,
yeah.
They decided that they just want a mirror, and they figured that they could beat him in a mirror match of composition.
Or it's a map where you just have kind of played in scrims with Agilities throughout the week and kind of decided that this is going to be a map that he plays.
Well, but yeah, with the amount of blocks that you're probably doing, and you're trying not to burn out your players, I'm sure there's quite a lot of rotation there.
Yeah, you're just you're trying to get everybody. You don't see an equal amount of playtime, but trying to keep everybody in the flow of scrim time, right? So many different heroes coming in and out. Everybody needs to be fresh, ready to go. Where this could be a map that Agilities has just excelled on in a lot of the scrims and in the past.
I just want to take the chance to point out as well that we've only really seen Cruz play Lucio, sort of in his showings in the Overwatch League. Obviously, he started off as a DPS player, but he was always playing Lucio. So a bit of a mix for him now, and I'm interested to see what he can provide. So far, he's staying in step with Violet. I would say he's not doing anything that's overly crazy on the Baptiste here. Just his job, which is good enough for now.
And I don't think seeing him play something like new for the first time, then comparing it to Violet, who is one of the best flex supports in the league, would be fair either.
Yeah, that is true. Give him some time, everyone gets a grace period. I think we said the same about the Titans yesterday. Okay, so here's an off-angle Sigma May play. Smurf has to turn his back now. Doesn't really seem bothered about what was behind him. And yeah, he's a little bit confused about where to be looking here. Oh, Nevis is in trouble. You can't kinetic grasp that either, and the rest of the focusing beam gets used on the May. Bit of a time buy here for Agilities. He tries to back up and all. Rascal playing so aggressive. He got the sticky bombs in, but I don't think he expected to take the Kree damage at the same time.
Nah, and you traded out here. Oh, an Ant Matrix in the high ground as Choi gets a kill on a Kariv. Look at this, it forces Cruz and the other members to hide as Choi just jumps down and just punches him in the head. That'll be the shock holding on D.
Accretion and Amplification Matrix seems pretty darn good.
Not a bad combo.
The Defiant had nowhere to run. That was a weird position to use Amp Matrix, but the Defiant could only just hide behind the cart. And because of how close the cart was to the fountain, you could bounce hyperspheres off of the pillars in the fountain and hit people behind the cart after already a devastating accretion.
Toronto's going to kind of work all the way around this outside. So maybe they try and get the high ground behind. This denies like a lot of line of sight for the Echo to put down some damage.
That's right. The trailer park play. They go rounding outside. Rascal down. The Logic's Deadeye though. Didn't need the Amplification Matrix for that, but he'll be happy to use it now as Chogyobin was caught off for the rest of his team. The Maywall does its job, and Toronto look very, very good when it comes to those fundamentals, whether it's, you know, May for Agilities or Shaw format. It always looks good. I might say more about the fact that May is incredibly strong.
See,
right now.
I was surprised coming into this week that we haven't seen more of this type of play. For like the compositions from the Toronto Defiant. I thought this would be a week where you would see teams go back to like double shield, maybe include some stuff with the Echo in the mix. But we've gotten a lot of dive, which has been interesting. And now this is kind of more of what I expected personally.
By the way, when casters use the term interesting, ladies and gentlemen, often means bad. Not necessarily in this case, though. It's been fun to see a bit of that. Now, that's interesting. That Blizzard was either defensive or Agilities was hoping that the apex of the dome caused by the Blizzard would affect more players. It didn't, spoilers. All right, now Kariv gets Transcendent. That wouldn't have saved people at half health in midair, but he's able to prevent them from getting that low before they drop back down. Rascal plays from above, and yeah, that's the risk playing up against the McCree. If you're not careful about sightlines, you're dead.
Yeah, but it looks like they got a halt on the Logics, which would have ended up killing him to the sticky bombs, but they ended up fading away. But Moth able to pick him up. It's a nice halt plus a wall there. Shoyobin gets brought right in front, and he gets taken out.
Okay, Air Matrix, that Orisa shield blows up very quickly. Nevix tries to come in over the top aggressively and forces out the Transcendence now. Accretion on Smurf. Can he get away? Now, the answer is absolutely not, and Violet had to play aggressive around the wall to try and stall this out. Doesn't work. Toronto have 4 minutes 15 to hit this last phase of the map.
Toronto is starting to get rolling yet again now with their double shield comp, and you wonder if the shock, when do you switch off of the Echo? Like, I don't really believe that the Echo is more impactful than having a May out there.
Oh.
So Agilities with a headshot on a Violet, so that'll hurt.
Well, that's the issue, is that the immortality field only works when you're on the ground. You throw it down assuming that you're going to survive and touch the ground. Not if you get icicled in the face while you're held up by Holt.
And I don't know why teams moved away from May in this type of situation. Like, I still feel like she gets a ton of value, even like without the Reinhardt in the mix. Well, yeah, but I think like without Reinhardt, she does get hurt a little bit. But I still think she's a very powerful hero.
All right, how do the Defiant get through this little chug? The Shock managed to do it with a Transcendence. I think they've just sent them straight forward. The Defiant, maybe the old-fashioned way. Great combo for Logix, and the Deadeye has been consistent as ever. Rascal duplicates an Orisa, now back behind the shield. Logix doesn't mind though, because there's a Transcendence from Kariv in play. And what is it with the Shock? And Rialto last point.
Yeah.
They just got rolled.
It's kind of like what was it last year's stage, was it stage 1 finals when they played the Titans?
Yep. They thought they were so far ahead because they finished the map on a second go through, I think, or at all, and then the Titans finished the map with like 4 minutes in the time bank. And let's not forget the playoff match against the Atlanta Reign, where they messed up at the end of the map.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. You'll never hear my voice go so high.
Or just watch the clip of Moss eyes coming out of his head as he looks at his monitor. It cracks you up every time. It's so difficult to watch. You can just, like, your heart just sinks as you watch it. Like, oh. But
yes, because you get to see players, and this is quite rare. Like, and you see this.
I don't think we can kind of talk about this with spoiler alerts. I mean, if you can't get it by now, they've lost horribly on Rialto a few times.
Yeah. And it was the way in which it happens, though, is I guess why it's so shocking about it. But you don't always see like.
I see what you did there. It's shocking for the Shock to lose, and you're just slipping them in there even more each week. But you can't get past me. I'm too quick for you.
I'm trying to layer it. Some people will notice the obvious ones, and then the really like the giga brains, the wrinkly brains, the people that stay away from Sideshow's co-streams.
I catch
get, like, the other ones.
I catch them all, and even though Reddit doesn't believe that, I do. I just choose to ignore 99% of them.
It is a pleasure to cast alongside a Pokemon master like yourself, Matthew Reginald. But we are out of the gates now with a minute 47.
I've been known to be a fantastic Pokemon master.
In some circles, the greatest. Architect wants to push up here. And that ain't a Pokeball, that's a big ass rock. No one wants to be caught near that one. Architect holds it up into the sky.
Honestly, though, this is great for Toronto. Like, with the composition they're playing with the Mei, any amount of time you can just burn clock and stall with Mei is kind of exactly what you want. As Nevix gets a lot of value out of that kinetic grasp. You see how Sigma goes up to like 600 something HP there.
Yeah, and that shield doesn't decay all that fast either. It hangs around, but Beast, well, he didn't get the shield from that. He only had his little half dome, and that one was pretty well compromised by that point. Choi Hyobin, this Sigma play is sickening. It's actually nauseating.
Do you buy enough time to get yourself another fight, though, if you're the Defiant? They don't have a Lucio, so it's a little bit harder for them to get back. We'll see what Beast decides to do with the rest of the team. Can you get there and contest? I believe so, and I think it's worth. You'll have an Amp Matrix here to use.
All right. Oh, no, Cruz! Well,
Beast got deleted.
Yeah, that one was discounted on account of the fact that Cruz actually didn't have a boat to take on that one, so hate to see it. Rascal finds Nevix, though, and yeah, I mean, those canals, aren't the canals...
Oh, I mean...
They're probably kind of gross.
Beast,
they look pretty in this game because this is idyllic.
Beast steps up, like, once they use the M-Matrix, he kind of goes past the shield and tries to get towards the cart, and he gets insta-gibbed. I mean, he is alive for maybe 2 seconds after that. He just takes a mouthful of bullets and projectiles from everybody on the Shock. As the Shock continue to move the payload, Toronto with some ultimates to use here, Gravitic Flux and Blizzard potentially a nasty combo.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, Smurf now needs to be a little bit careful. If they drop behind him, he could be in trouble. But in fact, it was the Shock that were waiting, Matt, to spring the trap. Nevix disintegrates under that focusing beam, and Rascal's able to clear. Look, this is for free. Rascal is doing this for free. It's free health points. He's just duplicated it, and when he comes out of that, he's just going to turn back into an Echo and go and do it again.
Oh, Toronto, they use the Blizzard, and they use the Deadeye. As the Shock continue to keep the cart going, as this is kind of falling apart here for the Defiant.
This is so dangerous now for Toronto, and they had a significant lead coming into this round. They still have a chance, though. It'll start with a Gravitic Flux, so overtime's been going for a while. Nevix can force the C9 with this, essentially. He's going to go for it. The Shock have been there before. They've had that done to them in the past. On this map, it doesn't quite work, though, so now it's going to have to be the Transcendence from Kareem. Rascal is down. Supercharger has been removed, and Smurf will follow. Now the Defiant, they come up with the goods here. Not a moment too soon. Giving another checkpoint to the Shock would have been just unimaginable. But now they set themselves up. They've got to push about 103 through that second phase.
Not undoable. It is possible. You like that?
It's not undoable. It's like the classic Australian response where someone comes out, it's like, it's really cold today, and we go, yeah, it's not hot. Yeah.
I thought I
not undoable. Mr. X 2020.
I thought I would get that one by you. But you're like a really good goalie. You just kind of swatted it as I was trying to slip that one in there.
Yeah. You don't catch me slipping on that one, especially grammatical stuff.
That's your tagline. You never catch Midjuber shout to Leslie slipping. If you would have gotten the second checkpoint, I think it would have it would have been, you don't want to say over, but it would have been extremely, extremely difficult. This, though, especially because if you can get rolling with the Mei, and we've seen them on offense with the Mei, like, have really good results against this Echo, it is possible, especially like if you force the Shock to switch, right? Which we haven't seen them be forced off of this comp yet.
Yep. Now, I know there's no bad blood here, but Nevix had to sit on the sidelines and watch Choi Hyobin win a championship with San Francisco in his role. He now has a chance to even the score, or at least shut him up a little bit on this Sigma battle. And all the Toronto Defiant have to do is push as far as the Shock did. So they need another checkpoint and then another about 100 meters in game. What I love as well, there's that, I mean, you guys don't really use meters, do you? Well, you do in Overwatch, even though it's a game made by Americans. Victory for the colonies.
Sure. I guess because they...
You didn't notice that? You guys use feet,
Yeah,
right?
we do.
But that's in meters.
I've never taken offense that we used meters in the game, but I guess I should.
I mean, you know, like, sometimes it's just worth pointing it out. I'm just saying, it's interesting. Mox goes down, Karib. I mean, Karib on the Zenyatta is always going to be a force to be reckoned with now in the Shock. Do they even come back and try and fight? They're getting staggered here. They can't fight with a full 6 for quite some time now. Rascal gets away, that would be ridiculous.
As long as Rascal doesn't get an opportunity to beam somebody down, Toronto can just extend these fights long enough and brawl it out to win. So we'll see if the Shock decide to go get a touch or try and make an attempt to. It looks like they will not.
No.
They'll back up. Toronto's still with a good time to make this happen, right? Like, you have potentially like 2 fights, 3 fights potentially if you're Toronto, with some switches to get back.
Toronto aren't at any sort of ultimate sort of charge or economy deficit either. There's no reason why they can't do this. They'll have to win 2 fights to do so, at least at this stage. The Shock. Okay, they came in a bit earlier than I thought they would. I actually thought they'd wait for the Toronto Defiant to get out of the breach, but I mean, with a crack shot like that from Choi Hyobin with the accretion, now you can stretch this fight out. You can stagger. You can punish the Defiant for being so far from spawn, Matt.
Yes, Toronto just needs to die. They need to just jump off the map. They need to die. They need to reset quick. That is an Amp Matrix plus that accretion. We've seen that combo a few times now from the Shock, result in some big kills, and that one tough for Toronto because Karib is so close to Transcendence at that time, like 98%, so not even an opportunity to keep everybody alive.
Architect, you are asking for it. That is incredibly risky considering the situation.
That is
the Shock now probably back
that's
away.
That's a Brennan hook. Watch this, guys. Then that happens.
Who would have thought there's an ability in the game that can drag you out into line of sight? Who would have thought the enemy team had it available? Either way, Agilities goes down. Rascal makes it a 5v5 here. It's a long walk back for the San Francisco Shock, though. They need to stay healthy.
So
overtime.
So the car will continue to move. Toronto with some big ultimates here to try and get this over the line, as you just need to buy time for Agilities to get back.
Oh wow,
Finally
gets Cruz so low. The amplification matrix behind a really nice Orisa barrier. They're out in the open. Now what do? You can't really contest those. Logix, you can't be losing that. He takes 2 shots and Rascal gets a double with the focusing beam. Logix is too far away. And San Francisco, they've done it. They even the series here, but Rialto had to go the distance.
And that one goes down to the wire, as it's unfortunate for Toronto in a fight they needed to win. They lose Agilities and they still win that fight, but you don't have that Blizzard to kick off the next one, and that really hurts them.
That was wild seeing Architect go for that kind of dead.
Yeah.
I could respect the playmaking, but I don't think there was even an amplification matrix for him to combo that with. So, I'm not really sure what the idea was there. The San Francisco Shock can show a little bit of flair and still win. Matt, Choi Hyobin was a monster on this particular map there. 15 final blows, 7 deaths. Rascal had 16, so that's an idea of just how well he did. Maybe at some point we get a side-by-side with him and Nevix, but we know he's frightening on that Sigma. He is making it look incredibly good, and now we're getting a different flavor in amongst all these dive comps map. Now we have teams playing double shield. This is a very diverse hero pool right now. Everyone has their different take. But the take I want to hear right now, believe it or not, I know this will shock you, is what the desk have to say in our halftime game breaks. We're going to head over to Zoe and the gang and get their thoughts on what we've seen so far in this tight series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome to our game break presented by Cheesy Grooves. Zoe here, joining me are Costa and Reinforce as per usual. It's currently 1-1 apiece between the Toronto Defiant and the San Francisco Shock. So let's discuss what just went down. Looking at the compositions here, we're seeing something a little bit different from what we've seen yesterday as well as earlier today. Reinforce, would you like to break down those a little bit slower compositions for us?
It's quite interesting. I think it comes down at least a little bit to the maps we're seeing and how they are favoring these slow compositions. I think we expected some dive coming out on City Center specifically, like we saw the San Francisco Shock do, but Toronto Defiant, they're sticking to these slow compositions, which is very interesting, and that could be a big talking point as the series progresses, because as we're looking at the maps coming up, Kings Row and Hanamura, this could actually be a series that comes down to the wire based on what compositions these maps favor. So I'm liking the slow compositions we're seeing. Logix has been really great on the McCree so far, and Toronto actually showing some good gameplay, Costa. They have been stepping up as of recent.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because if you've been on Twitter recently, we had Shawfor come out and tweet that he actually wasn't even supposed to play in the first map. They won anyway, so I guess everybody rejoiced. This is great. But yeah, it seems like they want to lean towards this Agility's Logix May McCree style of playing the game. Very slow, very bunker. And I would usually say I thought they should be playing the the dive, because that's where I think they would excel. But they're playing phenomenally. Logix on the McCree is just getting kill after kill, just absolutely taking it to Architect. Agility's been pretty good on the May, same thing with Shawfor. But I really want to highlight Beast and Nevix, because I think their tank play has been phenomenal, especially with these pool accretions and just getting value out of their ultimates. So it's interesting seeing this, because I don't think anybody expected it.
I have to inquire here, though. We just saw Rascal on our screens, and he, of course, standout Echo from last week as well. Do you feel like it was maybe a little bit greedy to also play Echo on defense there?
Yeah,
because he did it twice.
You guys heard me molding it during the match when he's playing the Echo on the defense. I actually really like the Echo on the offense because she has a lot of offensive capabilities, breaks shields, a lot of poke, sort of forces the Toronto Defiant team back. But when you're on defense, you can't really stop them from just walking forward. You do a lot of damage, but that doesn't stop the Toronto Defiant team from just walking at your team, especially with the May. And you saw that's how Toronto had such a fast time on Rialto, and honestly, why this match was so close. So in the future, Rascal, I understand you're like a god tier Echo and that kind of stuff, but I think if they just play straight up, they can take this match pretty easily.
Now for our crunch time presented by Cheesy Grooves, you guys have a juicy Deadeye for me.
Yeah, I just wanted
Please break it down.
I just wanted to highlight Logic's Deadeye so far, because I think they've been phenomenal. Usually, okay, I'm not going to brand everyone, but usually McCrees, they just kind of throw it out and they hope for the best, or they try to reload because you get your ammunition back.
It's always a zoning out, man.
But so far this series, Logix has had really good Deadeyes, and he's used them at great timings. He's comboed it with Blizzard, etc. He's used it when he's stuck in Gravitic Fluxes, when he gets tossed up into the air. And I've really been enjoying seeing Logix use his Deadeye so far this series. So this has been quite an important part of Toronto Defiant's game. Being able to find these picks from the Deadeye and be able to sort of punish San Francisco's positioning has been huge for Toronto. So if Logix can continue to use these great Deadeyes, that's going to be a big boon for this Toronto team in the second half.
Yeah, I think you usually see High Noons get such low value because D.Va exists in the game, and she just eats it all. But because we've seen a lot of double shield and the Sigma doesn't deal with the High Noon anywhere near as well as the D.Va, so that's why we're seeing so much, but we haven't seen as much effectiveness from other teams, so big props to Logix really getting it done.
Yeah, for sure.
Our next map coming up is going to be Kings Row, so very quick thoughts here. Who do you think is going to take that map?
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to see if we're going to continue seeing the slow composition and how that favors that composition compared to, say, dive. We have seen some teams play that dive composition, and you know, maybe we'll see San Francisco throw Toronto for a loop or whatever on Kings Row, and maybe we'll end up winning. But then we have to keep in mind that San Francisco has not been great on assault maps so far this year, and then going to Hanamura, where you can play this slower composition, and San Francisco only has a 38% win rate on. This is very likely that it goes to map 5, and then on Nepal we could see all types of compositions. On Sanctum we could see slow, and then on Village, etc. we could see some May, etc. So this is turning out to be quite an interesting series, and I'm interested to see how it plays out on the maps to come.
definitely so far a lot closer than many people expected. So let's see if both of those teams can keep it up and who's going to end up getting that W. And for all the action, we once more send it back to Uber and Mr. X. Enjoy. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League. On the other side of our halftime game break, the Toronto Defiant and the San Francisco Shock are neck and neck at one apiece here, Matthew. Rialto went the way of the Shock, and, you know, there's a lot. I talk at halftime. I actually quite enjoyed the discussion today because not only did we find out why Agilities was subbed in for map 2 to play the exact same thing, but the conversation around Rascal playing Echo and playing it on defense was fascinating and might answer why Toronto were able to breeze through so easy on attack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite funny that there is an error made that has Surefour play map number 1, and that's the one that they win. But
wasn't he was in a vast stream right before he had to play. I think he was taking the day off.
I mean, it's essentially like being in the Avast stream. It's almost like being at the bar and your team's got to play in like 5 minutes. You're like, oh yeah, it's fine. No, I'm sitting this one out today. It's like getting a call like, hey, by the way, you're ready to go. Like, Surefour played good at map number 1, even on the short notice. I think though that you see that they kind of want Agilities in there to play that May all the time.
Yeah. And we'll see it. Also, Logix tends to often sort of exit the team after the first couple maps after Control, but he's staying in now as we head over to King's Row, and you can probably see why. I think out of all the McCree options on this team, that he is definitely the best, and he's looked at, I would say he's been the best performing player right now for Toronto up until here. So, King's Row, Matt, look, Johnny said the series could well be decided on the maps that we get and how they cater to certain compositions. I think it's safe to say that we still see double shield here.
And Johnny is Johnny the Wise, as it seems like they've all named themselves.
Okay, look, that is his Dungeons and Dragons character. And let me tell you how wise Johnny the Wise is. He has intelligence 4.
I love how they've named themselves. Johnny the Wise, Zoe the Brave, and Cuss says, I don't know if he's named himself this or he's been dubbed the Village Idiot. Scott, stand up for yourself. I believe in you.
Do you know how he got the nickname Custer, by the way? His stream viewers probably know that. We heard it the other day running Mythics with him.
Yeah.
He got that name because he was at school, and this is a very typical Australian hazing technique. It sounds really mean, but this is very common. I think he was eating a custard tart, and one of his mates came and smushed it into his face, and he forever became known as Custard.
And he used that motivation to fuel himself as a professional player, and he never wanted to forget that moment, so he named himself after it.
Honestly,
he forgot that big, deep emotional connection part.
It sounds harsh, and I think by today's standards is, but it was a very typical prank when, you know, one of your mates went to the tuck shop, which is where you get you can buy food for recess and
You're
lunch.
Just making things up at this point.
No, you know, it's called the tuck shop in the eastern states. We call it the canteen in South Australia. But go to the tuck shop and you get a really nice little pastry, and then someone ruins it.
That could all be a lie.
I need the Aussie crew to back me up on that one, but there you have it. That's the story.
It's not a lie. Is more May McCree from both sides. Not a lie.
So Rascal is playing the May now, Matt, so no echo here, and they're attacking, so maybe you'd be more justified in doing that. They're going to push up. May walls everywhere. Looks like a trash compactor here, but one of these players really fits that description so far. Choikoven won't be getting out, though. He got flashed as he tried to escape.
Yeah, and he gets the hammer from Logix as well, as this will be an early coalescence, though, from Violet, as the shock. Do you get 2 ticks on the point?
Yeah, they managed to catch Smurf off with a May wall, but not before he takes Nevix down. Logix is trying to make a play here because that point's got to be captured. Please! Please, Toronto, please!
They're fine. They're
players.
They're slowly retreating. Well, look, they wouldn't have been able to really... what were they going to do anyway? I mean, they had tanks alive. It was just, I believe, Cruz. You had maybe, I think it was Kareev and then Logix alive, so...
No, I mean, my issue, like, if they weren't going to contest, they definitely had to get out and prevent themselves from being staggered. I was just surprised at how long they hung around for that. But they get out. Like, there's no harm, no foul at the end of the day. I don't even know if we can really call that a C9 when it was probably quite intentional to not walk in front of the Orisa.
It's definitely, I think, intentional. I think the chances of them turning that is very low.
Beast. Okay, gets away. Logix, oh, you tried! You went for the dirty play! No honor in that challenge, and he is punished by the gods of dueling. Smurf is going to work Nevix down with the help of Rascal here in San Francisco. Should be comfortable now after a failed flank attack by Nevix. Sorry, Mr. Nevix, that one is going to be going down as a botched effort.
And now the Shock may be able to get checkpoint 2 out of this. So really just one fight for Toronto potentially on the second checkpoint. We'll see if they're able to get close enough to challenge it. But even if they do, they probably don't have the ultimates to swing it. As you see that it's going to be Nevix waiting at the corner. They're going to try and push up, but Maywalls come out. You're not able to challenge it. Oh, and you lose Kareev.
Oh gosh, I mean, that shouldn't be happening. Mora should never get caught by that. It's possible that Kareev either had to fade forward to get there or just didn't think he was in line of sight at the time, but that is more ultimate generation here for San Francisco. The fact that they walk into the Foundry with both support ultimates still available against Cruz and Kareev with nothing, this could blow out of proportion really quickly.
Yeah, so you have the Shock with 5 minutes plus to finish the map now. Getting very close to this final checkpoint. It'll be Violet with a coalescence, so you have all this Moira healing to keep everybody up. You can use it offensively as well as they rotate around the left side.
Okay, they kind of bait San Francisco here into the grenade box, but it doesn't matter. Choi comes up with 2. It is hard to get those big D.Va bombs against double shield, but Choikoven, if there's anything that he can do, it is surprises, and that is...
Oh
my.
That is
no
bueno. That is not good.
has the goal to call that a C9. I don't really think it's a C9 when you're all dead.
C9. They finished in 4 minutes and 41 seconds. I mean, there's a lot that went wrong as opposed to them getting on the card.
How annoying is that when you're playing in the Overwatch League and you just got rolled and then your opponent just types in chat C9?
Hey.
Come on!
Look, I was a part of the Call of Duty community. I can't say nothing in regards to trash talk.
Oh my. Yeah, well, to be fair, they're still doing it.
Yeah.
That much hasn't changed.
I mean, I think the main rule with trash talk is you gotta continue to talk trash even if you lose. Like, you can't win and talk trash and then like lose and then not say anything. Like, you have to be consistent the whole way through, right?
But how do you have a leg to stand on with your trash talk if you've lost? That's what I always wondered. That's why I didn't really bother with it, because I'm like, well, what do you say when you just get straight rolled?
Well, then what you do is you just kind of play off the fact that you're not mad about it, and then get the other people angry that it's not affecting you, and then just kind of turn their mental against themselves.
Right.
That's how you do it, right?
This is all intricate. I should be taking notes. This is very intricate, man. Well, there you go.
Because nothing makes a trash talker angry than when you don't acknowledge it and just kind of laugh about it.
Well, lessons from the Call of Duty scene. Good to know. Yeah, I definitely consider myself rather enlightened. Keep that in mind, Overwatch League fans, as I know we're all a little bit susceptible to trash talk. There are a lot of people out there that don't quite have the stomach for it, and that's okay. But, you know, people might use it against you out there in the wide world of gaming in the battlefield.
You should use laughter to combat it effectively.
There you go. Nothing does it quite like Murph. Rascal now ice block here, and the Defiant. My gosh, they're getting pushed here by the Shock. The Shock really want to take the fight to them, and Beast is low. Can they find him? He's going to be able to get away and get healed up. That is not what you want. And now, with that part of their plan sort of falling apart, everything comes tumbling down like a house of cards here for San Francisco.
Yeah, so I see Logic's come in here, pick up a kill onto Violet. It'll be Toronto Defiant getting on the point, and this will be a rather fast point A take as they're able to win the head-to-head battle. They bring in a Batiste here instead of having a Moira for at least the first point to give them that immortality field to keep them alive.
So now, heads on straight for the San Francisco Shock. They are going to continue to take a risk, though. Now, the only person, well, no one from the Defiant can really scout this out, but now the cat's out of the bag. The Shock have to decide whether they just sort of commit, and they choose not to. So they're going to play around the choke, though, as much as they can. And they have a huge time bank, but that can dissipate awfully fast if they keep making mistakes.
It can. I will say, though, the time bank that they've set is so large that it's very difficult to see it kind of go by the wayside. All you have to do in these type of like compositions is just draw these fights out, right?
That's an excellent Maywall coming out from Agilities there. Rascal couldn't be healed by the Coalescence, and Violet was theoretically in a great spot to heal his team, but after that, he couldn't do anything. Nicely done by Toronto, everything going right for them so far, and you can see why Agilities was initially intended to be starting in this series, because his May play has been really hard for the Shock to get a read on.
Yeah, no, his May is stellar. It's one of the heroes you kind of think of Agilities like that he can play at like a very high level, like May, Pharah, Genji, Doomfist. Like, those are kind of his heroes. So to get a May meta this week, you expected him to be a focal point for the Toronto team.
Here we go. Joe needed a bit of spot healing from Violet there. A lot of supercharges going on, but Rascal domed by Cruz at long range. The supercharge is definitely souping up the Lucio damage a little bit more. So you get Tinnitus, I suppose. The Shock, though, still in position to contest this, but it's a token resistance, if anything. This looks awful from San Francisco. The Defiant are making them look bad. It's as simple as that.
I mean, nobody wants to play defense on King's Row. I get it. It's so fun to attack on this map that everybody just wants to go right back on it. But I mean,
that must be why, Matt. Yeah.
Just a little bit of defense would go a long way here. Is 4 minutes plus for Toronto to potentially get this final point. Wild to consider how fast the Shock did it, as like Toronto's been running through the map, and they still don't have a chance to match the Shock's time.
Oh, Violet needs to be careful. He can still be burst while he's getting self-healing from Coalescence here. It isn't as fast as you think it is when you're facing down an amplification matrix. A lot of the Shock's kills are coming from Choikovin just being a boss on this Sigma for Toronto, with Logic's doing the damage on the McCree. Here's a sound barrier for Toronto now, and they want to fight. Immortality field now removed, and the Shock can actually start finding kills, but the Defiant back up a little bit here, and they walk into this! Choihoven gets a kill before even the Gravitic Flux is used, and the rest of them just get straight rolled, and Choi up to now 8 final blows. Next closest is Rascal with 5.
And that halt to set that up was massive from Smurf. He's able to group everybody together, then the Gravitic Flux comes in, and now we see the Shock playing close. Around the corner, they're going to catch Toronto off guard. Beast just walking into it.
Choihoven stunned up briefly. That was a blizzard there from Rascal. Value attained. There's not much chance of Beast getting away from this one, and Nevix is also a lost cause in that regard. Okay, sneaks back into spawn with Kinetic Grasp, but still, the Shock now are ahead in time bank by about a minute. Are now slowing the Defiant down. This corner just seems to be where they want to be playing.
Yeah, Beast, he did not expect that one to be coming as he was like walking up. He turned to look at his team like, all right, guys, ready to go? And then he turned back around. Everybody's directly in front of him. As be aggressive play from the Shock around the Supercharger.
Yeah, it's an aggressive Jedi from Architect as well, but where are the kills? Okay, Kareev takes a big hit, and Kareev not in position anymore to find kills. Cheeky flank, and Logix couldn't break out of the Deadeye animation fast enough now. And Immortality field comes a little bit too late in the day, and the Shock, they just get aggressive and they cause the Defiant to split in two.
It's Choi is just mowing them down now on the Sigma.
Smurfing. He's actually smurfing in this game.
Yeah, he is so good. He'll have another Gravitic Flux. See if Smurf can land another big halt. This would probably force out whether it be the sound barrier from Cruz, or maybe we see Kareev drop the Immortality field.
We get a sound barrier here surely from Cruz now. Yep, that is the Gravitic Flux. No casualties as a result of that.
That's fine. You got rid of Supercharger, Ant Matrix, and the sound barrier.
All right, Nevix is hit with that accretion. It was a Gravitic Flux attempt there from him. Nothing, though, came as a result of it. Architect wants to try and flank around and just pick up the Supercharger. That one goes down. Violet is able to get rid of that. And the Defiant, where's the steam? The engine room, there's nothing coming out of it right now. And they're running out of momentum.
And on a switch, this is interesting. Okay, so
Why?
Never mind, we're going to have a Hangzhou play. So this is what, when I was watching the Hangzhou Spark Shanghai Dragons last night on Kings Road, this is what we saw from them. A lot of Hangzhou play with the double shield in the maze. The Hangzhou can be extremely effective in giving you an advantage in terms of bursting down these barriers.
So shield pressure is what the Defiant want to go for here, but again, the Shock just get mossed to speed boost them forward, and they force Agility's way out of position. Now that Blizzard comes in, Beast should be able to use his Fortify, but there was no way Cruz was going to escape from that one. He loses his Immortality field. Logix, though, finds a kill during the fight on Choihoven, no less. The Shock still have a barrier to play around, but they can have to disengage here, and Logix is, oh man, finds a shot with a Storm Arrow. Smurf can't get away either, and the switch now gives a breath of fresh air into the Toronto Defiant and some new life as they surge ahead.
It's just like the Storm Arrows can do so much burst damage to be able to get rid of some of these shields. That it's quite crazy. Also the one-shot potential of a Hangzhou.
I mean, whichever way you slice it, Matt, the Defiant are still a long way behind, but if they want to even think about contesting this huge time bank lead, they got to finish the map. They're close to it now, and Agilities has a Blizzard, so there's no real reason the Shock should be able to contest this properly.
Oh, a lot of people get away from the Blizzard.
They avoid the Blizzard, yeah. Choihoven does still get frozen. He's in that little side room, and Logix gets rid of Violet now. So no main tank, no main healer, I guess. You're in deep trouble now if you are San Francisco. The Defiant, I mean, makes you wonder, why not just play this composition the whole time? I think they'll change their mind about the usefulness of Hangzhou going forward, and at least they'll have a chance to play more Overwatch on this map.
Yes, the Hangzhou pretty effective towards the later portion of the map here for Toronto. Do they come out with it yet again on what'll be their offensive attack? Toronto with a minute, that'll give the Shock more time, so they go up to 5 minutes and 17 seconds.
One of the biggest time bank deficits I've ever seen on Kings
but just
Road.
think about how good Toronto's offense has to be here to give themselves a chance. I mean, 5 minutes is an eternity. I mean, that is like way more than you even almost get to start with at the beginning of the game. I mean, you have
well, it is.
Yeah,
I
know. It's crazy. Like, it is a large time bank for the Shock, where Toronto, I mean, this was so much pressure on them, right? Like, imagine not being able to take a here and then having to hold for 5 minutes there. Like, you need to be able to take A and then advance the payload a long distance to give yourself a shot.
Now, bear in mind, the amount of times that I have seen teams finish all of King's Row in overtime is probably higher than a lot of other maps.
No, that's true.
It does happen, especially when you start getting rolling, because it is easy to win fights based on how sort of close these twists and turns are. Like, if you are able to build AoE ultimates and just sort of cycle through them, it's hard for enemy teams to actually get a foothold. You always sort of end up having more than they do. So if San Francisco get digger boomed on point A, they may struggle to find footing until a little bit later in the map, thereby giving Toronto much more
first fight is massive
than they bargained for.
I mean, you win first fight if you're the Shock, you're in a good spot. The ideal way to start off the fight is not with your main tank just barreling into the other team, and that's how it starts for San Francisco.
And then Architect is trying to flash a Sigma and focus him down. I guess the rest of the Defiant were under an immortality field, but I mean, nothing about that fight looked good. Smurf galloped headlong into an accretion with his
I mean, he got Maywalled off. There was like a halt in there as well, but it's still not the ideal scenario to start out with the main tank dropping pretty much instantly. The benefits for the San Francisco Shock is now they'll be able to get a fight in this choke. Maybe even earlier if you want to get really aggressive before the card even shows up.
Okay, they're going to try this high ground thing again, but the Defiant are already wise to it, so I'd be shocked if we really see anything done from up here. Not really sure what ultimate they're trying to really pair this maneuver with. Choikyoben just got top-decked and wrecked, so he needs to be healed up.
They'll have a coalescence here.
They're trying to drop behind the Defiant. They do that now. Speed boost is there, and here we go. Wall comes up behind him. Marissa barrier. Was that it? No, it was just not in position by the looks of things. Kareev loses that immortality field now, and the flank looks like it might be paying off so far. Logix goes for a defensive Deadeye and at least gets rid of Choikyoben's mech. There was a lot of help with that one. And Architect on another flank, trying to work Nevix's shield down. He was wise not to overcommit though. Dying there to Sigma would have been bad, and he does it anyway.
It's a free fight though for the Defiant. I mean, they don't have to use anything, right? But they use like a Deadeye like early on, but Deadeye we haven't really seen a huge one, so who really cares? So now you come in with 5 ultimates for the Toronto Defiant. If the Shock get, I don't want to say like, if they get a little bit desperate here maybe, and they invest like an ultimate or two, and they end up losing this one, Toronto has bought themselves enough space here to make this map winnable.
This is how it happens. This is how people get blown out on King's Row during overtime. Neither team has been able to defend from this position inside the Foundry just before this next checkpoint here. So San Francisco better be ready for a messy one. It's going to be a Blizzard straight away, and Smurf is frozen before he has the chance to use his Fortified. Choikyoben desuited, Violet trekked, and the Defiant push up again. The Shock commit a coalescence to that fight. They are losing every fight in economy here. And out of the Defiant have a shot at finishing the map. And now everything's up in the air in terms of who can win.
Absolutely, yes. The Shock, they end up using a few ultimates there, but now they come back. They have a sound barrier to use, plus their own Blizzard and Deadeye. To kind of get this sound barrier out for Toronto, you could have Nevix use the Gravitic Flux, and then when they Blizzard, you could end up using your own sound barrier.
Oh my, a hold and then a Gravitic Flux. Deadeye was still used by Architect, and he's able to find Nevix despite there being a sound barrier in play. That should do it. San Francisco now just clean up the dregs of this and probably shake their heads in disbelief, because they didn't win a fight until right towards the end of the map. At 5 minutes 17, it's a good amount of time, it is. But it's still going to be less time than they had last time around. And they're going to have to keep that aggression going on offense.
And the Defiant did that with only a minute. That is actually a rather strong showing there from Toronto.
Well, a minute plus a decent amount of time in overtime, so not
right. Yes,
strictly speaking, it took longer than
a minute. But yes, with a lot of overtime though, to get the cart that far, minute overall on the clock is huge. It gives themselves a fighter's chance here at taking this map. You get like 1 or 2 holds on A, and then a hold on before B for a bit. You're about in range to win if you're Toronto.
Why is Choikyoben playing D.Va and not Sigma right now? He did that last round as well.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I think it probably has to do with the other team having like that Baptiste, like maybe a little bit more of the defense matrix against some of the things that he can do.
But you know what's so shocking to me is that even
they were
though
fine on the
D.Va,
Sigma though, like he was crushing on the Sigma.
Yeah, with the D.Va in play, which you would think is to be there to shut down hit scan pressure, Logix is vastly outperforming Architect right now.
Did the Shock go with any meaningful changes here? Let's see. Architecto's going to probably Sonic this, see what they're running, and then decide.
And be completely unsurprised.
Oh, yeah, they're going to go play the same exact thing. So, well, actually, Choi going back to the D.Va yet again, like you mentioned.
So the Shock scored the fastest King's Row attack time ever on their first go through. That's why they got such a big time bank. They still need to back it up though. Maybe people are going to be shocked going back watching this VOD wondering why we aren't already considering this to be over, because Toronto got so much done on their overtime. Violet being down now means the Shock don't have staying power. They need to find kills, and that's going to be hard with no healing.
And you think though maybe the D.Va also in play because Beast has gotten some really nice halts off, so maybe the defense matrix to kind of counter that action, but I don't think it's been that meaningful that you switch off of the Sigma. Like Choi's Sigma was nuts.
He'll switch now. He has to.
Yeah.
Bless up! Back into Smurf mode. I mean, there's just... I mean, come on. Why are you trying to counter a Sigma with a different pick when you can just be a better Sigma? I mean, Troy Hope was like 13 kills to Nevix's 2, you know, after the first couple times through. He was dominating him.
One more fight win here for Toronto would be huge. It'll be a Coalescence gets walled off there by Agilities. Is Toronto just trying to outlive this?
Oh, they're taking so much damage, man. There's no coming back for this one. Okay. San Francisco solve a very troublesome equation. It's very complicated. And they realize that it's actually Troy Hoban that they want to be playing Sigma here, and that fight looks much better. I will admit, Coalescence help.
Yeah, Coalescence is the dominant factor there. Is you see how much it's not even used for healing. It's like it's just like inconsequential healing of like you just send your whole team just directly in front of the other team, and they just kind of get the best of both worlds. With the beam. So Toronto, they'll push up. They have no other option but to take as many fights as they can early. At this point, you want to just bleed clock. So they get up to the choke. They want to fight this immediately.
Now the Shock aren't pushing the card right now.
They want to do this high rotating.
They must have heard that roll from Architect. Okay, well, interesting. The Shock, they go over the choke. They don't want to try and push through that small gap. Instead, they just paratrooper down. And it works beautifully. The Defiant weren't ready for that. Even though I heard the McCree rolling on the high ground, maybe Toronto just thought it was only McCree and not the entirety of the Shock. Very clever. This time the high ground play works.
They had to have known that it was all of the Shock because nobody's pushing the cart. Where did everybody else go? They had to have known that was coming. It's just really fast action from the Shock that Toronto really can't. They can counter at that point because they're so far pushed up. If you're Toronto, I probably fight this again. I don't think you give up B for free here. I think you have to at least get them to use some ultimates.
All right, Coalescence is here from Violet, though. I mean, neither team has been very good at holding this choke at all. It's a hard choke to maintain, in fairness. You really have to sort of work in from the sides. It's so easy to get split off. And beast. Oh, man. Architect, though, gets held aloft, though, with Gravitic Flux. It is caught by Nevix in midair. It's a 5v5 now. Amplification Matrix out from Kari, but who's going to be there to benefit from it? Not many projectiles going through that window right now. And Shurikoven creates a window in Nevix's cranium with an accretion. 1 minute 56 on the clock here. Very doable for the Shock. The end of the map is just around this L-shaped corner.
Yeah, but well, let's see what the Shock, they have to have Architect switch back to McCree, so he had already used his Deadeye, not that big of a deal. They don't have any ultimates to work with right now. Violet will probably get a Coalescence, which could be a game winner, could be a complete game changer.
Violet down. Logix finds the kill after the Shock. Surely you just try and get out, right? Will they be allowed to? No! Architect gets caught.
That's big. I mean, now you start to build up some more. What in the world? No!
Mod fight 3 and he's far from done! If anyone can be the architect of such destruction, it's gonna be this man!
Oh, no.
What a force
You can't lose like this, Toronto! Come on!
They wills! The Defiant now lacking players. They're going to try and come back in off the spawn, but Beast gets frozen on the card. He's going to get chunked very low, and the Hawk's going to keep him in place. Beast is down. He's earned his halo. He may not have a chance to come back into the fight now. Logix tries to flank around. He gets rid of Rascal, and now the Gravitic Flux comes in. Nevix is thrown down. Here's a sound barrier for 5 players on the Shock, and Nevix is removed by Violet. That's 2 now. It's all about support here for San Francisco. And once again, Moth does the unthinkable. He's ending careers out here. Ankles being snapped left and right. And the falls are hard for the Defiant.
I can't.
What?
I cannot.
Shocker!
I cannot. It's just what was that? Like you had to hold them for 5 minutes. World champions, you have to hold them for 5 minutes. You're playing great.
Whoa.
You get a fight win. What looked like a fight win, where you killed the Moira as she was getting the coalescence, which was like the biggest ultimate they would have had at the time. And then you get the replayer Lucio booped into the pit on Kings Row. There was like no other angle to get knocked into the pit on Kings Row other than that. And oh, that's just horrid. It's horrible. Yeah, I mean, it's not even. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll see you in a second. Back on the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.
Honestly, a fantastic player. He's one of the smartest players in the league. He is one of the best main supports that we've got in the game.
What a big brain on that guy! The bloodthirsty support, Moth. This guy has the sickest environmental kills, the sickest boops. Moth! Oh my God! Moth! He goes in deep, gets the boop! Strap yourselves in, nerds. This is where it happens. Oh no, he's done it again! Come on! Get out of my house! Somebody stop this guy! This guy is filth! Oh man! Moth! What a monster!
The San Francisco Shock have secured themselves at least a match point here after a blisteringly fast Kings Row attack. It was the second fastest in history, right behind the OG Vancouver Titans. And then Moth pretty much gives his team a map win by combining with a Hulk right up in the air and getting a sort of diagonal boop that knocks 3 people into a pit. The pit is small, and it was a long distance. So he has perfectly managed to get them to fall straight down it. This is more crazy than, you know...
It's just wild.
What you would, it was sick. Everyone in the chat as well was going off about it. Pretty incredible stuff. Great combo from the San Francisco Shock. And that's what you should be expecting. Some slick combos, I mean, from our reigning champions. Maybe don't expect it.
It's brutal for Toronto, though. I mean...
I wanted to wash my eyeballs after that.
Toronto is putting together a very good hold considering the time bank that the Shock had. They're in a territory where if they win that fight, the Shock have to regroup, and we're getting down to like 1 or 2 fights that they have to win to actually pull that map out. And that happens. That is a tough one to come back from.
So this series remains close, though. Despite that having occurred, and despite San Francisco having such a fast attack, neither of these teams have been very good on defense at all. Both pretty average. To be honest, I guess that's the flip side to the story of both teams, you know, being able to sort of breeze through. I mean, yeah, that 3K, of course, from Moth is one of those things that you can't count on.
Yeah.
If you take that out of the equation, the Shock had just lost a fight with about 90 seconds to go.
It's the perfect play at the perfect time, and the execution is just flawless from the Shock.
I would say that takes play of the year like Defiant's Grab on Hollywood did last year, right?
Oh,
it's of that magnitude of ridiculousness.
It is that, yeah, it's that good. I think the Defiant play was so good because we've never seen it before, like in the Overwatch League. And just the craziness of like the jump over the wall. It kind of reminds you of, what was it, Zumba from the World Cup, like way back on Eichenwald. The boost into the window and the grab. This one, though, is definitely up there as crazy plays as we've seen.
So just a moment of pure individual ability from Moth, but it was combined, bear in mind, with Smurf getting a huge hold on him there. If you're Smurf, I mean, I don't know what you're expecting from that. You know, you're sort of throwing it out. It's sort of late in the fight, but it was right time, right place, and that's what makes champions at the end of the day. San Francisco, though, far from done. Hanamura is going to be our final map of the series if they win it. And
but if they
it's
don't
a chance
win,
for Toronto to find...
it's an opportunity for Toronto to go another map.
That is true,
That is how a series works, Mitch. No.
I'm so glad that you
before you explained it to our viewers, I have more faith that they knew what was at stake. They knew that Toronto needed to win this map.
I mean, I'm pretty sure only super high SR players, 2,500 and above, are even allowed to watch the Overwatch League. So
yeah, you unlock it in game once you hit plat.
Yeah, that's what we call premium content. But it'll be the Toronto Defiant on defense here, and, well, shocker, not changing too much up here. I mean, Cruz, for his debut, is really slotted in very nicely. The Toronto Defiant look very competitive presently.
And they play that Baptiste on defense because you don't really need the Lucio speed boost to really kind of go anywhere. Immortality Field can protect you against a bunch of different things. You have a little bit of extra damage to deter them from just barreling down you. As the Shock, they'll play the Moira and the Lucio. It's a great combo for speeding on in. Tons of healing from the Moira, keeping everybody alive.
All right, straight through the gate. Paywall placed at an angle in an attempt for Shock to, you know, make it impossible to block off. They still get through, but they get through it live. That is so huge. The Defiant have got to be frustrated because that was their biggest opportunity to stagger, to slow, and to otherwise inflict damage upon the Shock. Now they get the run of the plate, so they off the edge, taking a lot of damage from Logics across the way, but again, they get Shock are reaching all these milestones, Matt, and they're not paying much for it. You know, this is pretty easy for them so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's the effect of the speed, right? To being able to kind of get around the Toronto Defiant. As there'll be a coalescence coming in from Violet here, as they're going to just burst down Nevix, as you have Agility's on the point and Ice Block. He'll probably die shortly after. And this should be the Shock able to take point A.
Toronto looked okay there, Matt. They managed to split the Shock in two with the Maywall. The Rascal's the one getting focused down, and he just hit behind an Orisa barrier now. So Logics will try and step up, and it's all done. Once again, the trend of no defense continues. And Hanamura has been no different. But the Shock, look, they're able to break line of sight with the Maywall, right? They placed that sort of lengthwise as they walk through that choke, and they're able to shrug off a lot of the poke damage from the Defiant, who weren't playing that close to the choke at all, really.
Yeah, it also allows them to move in towards that right-hand side and get the high ground. So the Shock, they actually switch off of the Moira at this point, and they will have Violet on that Baptiste. So gives them a little bit of a damage upgrade, as you see actually that haul from Smurf brings the players down from the high ground. So the Shock realize that, they speed boost immediately up here, and now they have control.
So clever. San Francisco, they're in a great spot here. If they don't get pulled off at the edge, they can go right out front of the Defiant spawn here and start trying to catch a few players with halts and such. Architect needs to be a little bit careful. Here's an amplification matrix, but the Blizzard's going to make this punishing. Agility is frozen, but there's a Transcendence in play. Immortality fields from both teams. Cruz just saved many of his teammates by putting that down. Logix also went for it, but they've lost Beast already. The Blizzard has got to be good. Architect gets frozen after the fact, and yes! Agility saves the day with a big ultimate. And Logix and Korea help him clean up.
Okay, so the Shock, they get good positioning. They get to the point. A lot of ultimates used by Toronto to keep the point in their favor. Now the Shock, now they're actually playing from a position where they have a great shot of taking it, right? Now you have your Amp Matrix up on the high ground, Supercharger, Gravitic Flux. You see from Karib's POV, just nailing heads with the Discord Orb.
He knows when he can go forward. Sees that Blizzard hit, what, three players. That is actually huge efficiency from that one.
Not going to be able to get that halt off the side this time. You see where Beast is playing. It's a little bit more close to the wall. Won't kind of reach and extend on that angle.
Okay, supercharges for both teams. Nevix is able to avoid trouble by dropping down. Now wants to go for a Gravitic Flux.
You're okay with this if you're the Shock. There's not really an opportunity for Toronto to come push out of that.
Yeah, it's an on-flux location as well. You can't really do any follow-up damage. Usually the Flux on its own is not often enough to get damage done. See, that had to be paired with an Amplification Matrix. Beast, if they let him get away, that's a huge opportunity to get rid of a Sigma with an Orisa. Speaking of Sigma, Nevix never got to create his accretion rock there. Gets caught out before he had a chance to. And now they're going to push in the Shock here. It's going to be 3 players left right now for Toronto. Cruz can't peek out. He's too low for that right now. Goes for the self-heal. Kariba's transcendent, so he goes forward. It's going to be yet another Blizzard here for Rascal to make this a pretty dangerous choice to step up. But the Defiant don't really have any other option. I'm a little surprised there, Matt, that they didn't just wait the Blizzard out a little longer because there's no ticks yet for the Shock. They're going to keep trying to push in. Nevix is down. Rascal has to go for a late ice block, trying to help out his teammate deal with a Wrecking Ball of Beast, who does get frozen. Smurf gets 2. Chojobin's dodging icicles right now, and Smurf is very low, but gets a supercharger, and this could be dangerous for Agilities. He has to wall himself off and wait for reinforcements.
Smurf is so low, and he's been low forever.
Yeah, but still no ticks for San Francisco, Matt. The reinforcements keep coming, and the Shock aren't getting clean eliminations here. It's one-for-one kind of stuff. Architect locks the legs just to try and get back into the fight quickly, but he's automatically silenced by the Deadeye. Did find a Helix rocket kill onto the Wrecking Ball. Chojobin now gets caught up here in the Gravitic Flux. He will die as he's dropped down. He was less than half health when he was held aloft.
So not even a tick here for the San Francisco Shock as they try to make some adjustments to get back and keep that progress going with Smurf going over to Wrecking Ball, but he'll back out.
Moth in trouble here. Nothing you can do. It's elementary by that point. If you're frozen, you're done. And Architect's still on the Soldier 76.
I wonder if he goes, yeah, I wonder if he switches back to McCree. Soldier is valuable on Hanamura. You know, get to the high ground, and he's good at putting down just kind of consistent damage, like in that medium range. But still, I think a lot of teams would say that McCree is the favorable pick, as Karib actually goes over to the Ana. So no defensive support ultimate here for the Toronto Defiant, but you do have the ability of the the big heals at range with the Ana, can play a little bit more safely.
If they can get this Soldier 76 onto the ledge, then San Francisco can set up for what could still be an effective tactical visor. There's only a couple of shields in play that still need to be worked through first, of course. Oh man, Immortality Field got focused down nice and early. The Blizzard was good. The Shock wanted the Defiant to come to them now, but they still need a clean fight. They need a couple more unanswered kills. Karib will definitely be one of them as Architect takes him down in midair. Chojobin drops him behind Beast, gets him low over the creases for Agilities. Oh, there was a quick ice block. A little bit more damage, and Agilities wouldn't have had the chance to do that. It's good stall, though, and so is this Immortality Field. I like what I'm seeing from Toronto right now. In a fight, they should be getting wiped out, but they're staying alive, and San Francisco's opportunity to cap has already gone by the wayside, and they're down to 45 seconds left.
Yeah, you see the downside of the Soldier 76 tactical visor. Everybody can hide. There's a barrier that can be thrown directly in your face. A lot of times there's a Orisa barrier that people can hide behind. So now you see the change coming in for Architect. He'll go McCree. The Shock really with nothing to work with here to try and take point B.
Yeah, they're going to be walking into a bunch of stuff, namely a Gravitic Flux and a Deadeye combo, which could be scary. And we'll see if Nevix might actually just hold up on the Flux, just so we can give Logic sight lines to get easy Deadeye kills. Which means that the Shock are allowed to take this position here on the platform, and they get an Amplification Matrix. Toronto make themselves real scarce right now, and Logix is working an off angle. He wants the shot to commit to the point so he can get a flanking Deadeye. Let's see if it works. Rascal throws up the May wall here. Cruise's Immortality field is down, and this hasn't gone the way they thought it would at all. Logix still gets two, though. That's the combo with the Gravitic Flux, and Nevix, there was enough damage on Architect, so when he hit the ground, he burst open. And Toronto come up with a winning combo just as we drew it up.
Yes, it didn't start off great for Toronto, but when Nevix brings them all up, the Deadeye takes out a few players, and then the remaining players are taken out by the Gravitic Flux. So Toronto with a very good hold on defense. They don't give up they give up a little bit more than a tick, I believe, but still not a ton, as Toronto in a position to force a Game 5.
39.4%. All the shot managed to get. I mean, credit to them. They got that tick that they were looking for, but you're right, Map. You start to bring up the Mach 5, and it's looking even more probable now. Toronto look very, very solid. Bear in mind, there's an inherent defender's advantage on Hanamura. You really have to get, I would say, a minimum of 3 unanswered kills in a fight where you're trying to take point B.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with May Ice Block, Immortality Field, you know, Smurf just keeping himself, Beast just keeping himself alive, you know, with Fortify. Like, it's kind of hard to get, you know, huge multi-kills in this scenario.
So this will be the first,
we saw most of them happen in the other round.
Yeah, and this will be the first variation we see from the Shock, including the Hanzhou. So they've primarily gone with McCree the entire series. We saw Logix dabble a little bit with the Hanzhou setup. Now it'll be Architect's turn, as we know how good of a Hanzhou he can be. Does Logix, he probably uses the TP and then switches. Although you have seen Symmetra on this map in the past.
It's double shield map.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've seen Symmetra on this map in the past, so not too surprised.
I mean, if this Symmetra works out, the Shock probably lose this map. Maywall gets him in there. Logix saving the teleporter for now. They might just throw it down from the high ground. Yeah. Logix wants to peek it immediately. I mean, this is, oh man, this could be nasty. Straight to the point they go. Already Logix setting up some of the architecture, but
I think that's
maybe a little bit more respect would have been in order.
I think the TP to that portion of the point is very risky. Puts everybody in line of sight, in real danger.
So what do you rather see?
So what we've seen teams do in the past is like they TP into that right room, then they'll go up the stairs, TP will come off cooldown, they TP across to the other side where the stairs are, and then drop down. Not TP directly to the outside of the point.
Gotcha. Plenty of warning for the Shock. Once they saw the TP come up, they knew where Toronto would be appearing from. And to be fair, Logix just seemed a little bit, dare I say it, blasé as he walked up to the point and just started sticking turrets around. You know, Symmetra's so weak without the shielding. There wasn't shielding there. And that is a nice blizzard. Rascal throws that right into the massive bodies of the Defiant, and they are feeling the chill right now. Kareem and Logix are down, so most of your damage and most of your healing's already eliminated early on. And Toronto risk getting very far behind time-wise here. Remember, they still need at least 39.4% on point B.
And the thing that's rough about running the Symmetra into this right now, specifically, is that Symmetra needs time to get going, right? Getting her beam charged up, getting the turret set up, etc. And when the other team's playing a composition that has that little bit of extra burst, right? With the Hanzhou in play, you have May, the Hanzhou, the Baptiste, it can become very difficult to withstand that burst damage to get going.
Oh, the Dragon Strike! Perfect placement from Architect. Cruz got split off from the rest of his team from the beginning, so their travel speed was reduced drastically as his line of sight was broken. And Architect, he was very good at identifying a ripe opportunity.
Yes, he thought there was maybe another player in there, but now, Toronto, now they make another change. So no Moira in play. They'll have a Baptiste of their own. And what you get scared of for the Defiant is that, you know, some more time goes by and let's say some of these ultimates that don't pan out that you're going to get, you put yourself in a spot where the Shock is going to have a lot online and you're not going to have a lot of time to get this point.
Also, I don't want to be held in the air when the enemy has a supercharger online, and that is what the Defiant may be walking into right now. Another wall, they're too quick on the draw, and the Toronto Defiant have to pull the plug on that one real quick.
Yep, and the supercharger used here from Smurf, so not the end of the world. Is you see Smurf down playing on his own. This is because they know that Agilities either has a blizzard or he's close to a blizzard. They're going to pretty much sacrifice Smurf to this blizzard.
You know he had to do it to him, Matt! Rascal gets another perfect wall, and now the Defiant don't know which way they're going. Forward,
the Shock
up,
blizzard
down.
that, they didn't need that.
No, I mean, I think that was a mistake to Blizzard there in general. Oh, that's cute. Nice little tech from Choi. Yeah, a little bit of a boost there. I mean, that is a great example of Newton's first law. So very good, Choi Hoven.
Toronto, this is their best shot, right? 4 ultimates online. They probably got the Baptiste one. They go back. Okay, so this is how desperate they are. They go back to the Symmetra to close the gap to try and get a better Blizzard on the point.
Coming in like thieves in the night, Matt. Rascal did not expect a fully charged Symmetra to be facing him down, but Agilities was caught on the wrong side of this battlefield. It's a trade, though. Rascal is down. There's no maze in play, but Agilities already went for a Blizzard by the looks of things. That did not pan out. Logic's traded him for Smurf. I think that's a good trade for Toronto right now. And they're out of time, but the Shock need to get back onto the point here. Nevix falls down. That amplification matrix from Vita allows us the Zenyatta to do so much more damage, and that's a hasty mortality field for Beast to stay alive. He gets run over the top of, and the Shock show us some more of their defensive prowess now when it comes at just the right time. Cruz, I'm quite sure, frantically communicating to his teammates how important it is to stay alive right now, and Logix has been caught. Trichoven gets him in his web. Now has to use a kinetic grasp to prevent Nevix's damage from coming through, and of course the accretion's going to slow the wrecking ball down. He ain't going anywhere. Toronto just got put on ice.
It's Choyobin, man, he's just nuts on the Sigma. But I think for Toronto, the defense was good on point B. You gave yourself a shot in the map, and overall in the series, I thought Toronto played really good today. The difference, though, I think, specifically on this final map, is just you're rotating through too many heroes. You didn't give yourself a great chance in terms of ultimate economy at the end. You couldn't really get in a position to use the Blizzard. It was fantastic positioning by the Shock to just kind of have Smurf always on the low ground, everybody playing spread and high to avert that Blizzard. But Toronto, they think they proved a lot today, though, that they can hang with some of the better teams.
Yeah, they look really good. I mean, the fact that they want to still play that double shield composition and they still look quite good doing it is quite promising. Now, if there's a world in where you kind of can't play double shield and Winston sort of ends up being the go-to, we'll maybe see a little bit more of the true colors of this Toronto Defiant team. I have to say the May wall that the Shock placed right at the start on attack made a lot of the difference in this round. I mean, the Defiant weren't able to do that. They weren't able to prevent themselves from getting walled off. Remember, if you put a wall like that, the enemy May can't actually wall the choke. She can't.
Right.
Because she doesn't have the line of sight required to see the other side of what's on the wall there. So place a wall like that, it shields you and also prevents you getting blocked off. That, they kept getting blocked off, the Defiant, as they walked in. They weren't able to prevent that.
It allows them to get into that top right high ground, which is exactly what they wanted for the Shock's offense, where they were able to not have to use some kind of trickery with a Symmetra to be able to get that positioning.
The fact that the Shock could play like a simple, straightforward composition without the need for smoke and mirrors, just via good May wall placement, instead of having to dedicate a hero slot to the Symmetra, which, I mean, it just didn't work out.
No.
Like, Logix comes through the TP first, which is, you know, always questionable. He's ahead of his Orisa shield. He's up against, a May who can just burn him down, or freeze him up, should I say, and then that's a wrap.
And especially against the Hangzhou.
Matt, our Xfinity play of the match, it's never been easier for me. It absolutely has to be Choi Hoban. On Hanamura, he had 4 kills until he switched to the Sigma. Ended up with 17 kills, vastly more than any of his teammates. He is just a god. He's a god emperor when it comes to playing
Sigma's
the
crazy.
Sigma.
And he seems to be able to just live for so long. Obviously, the supports help him out with that, but the use of the kinetic grasp, the ability to just play in and out of your own shielding, the damage, the gravitic fluxes, he's a crazy good Sigma player. Like, I think clearly the best Sigma in the league, where today he showed that. He had a huge impact on the hero, and like you mentioned, King's Row played a bunch of D.Va, wasn't really working out, then he went over to the Sigma and he really started to go crazy.
I mean, these stats are just dirty. And I think maybe Nevix is sat on the other side of the field like, well, yeah, I mean, I expected this. I've seen this guy play all of last year. Like, I know what I'm going into. Nevix either it's not his style, perhaps to sort of be a centerpiece sort of player in that regard, or maybe just to try and, he's not really about taking any glory for himself. Definitely opting for, more of a facilitating approach. But when you can go in as Sigma and, find gravitic fluxes that yield you 3 kills, or, combo effectively and consistently with a halt, with accretion coming in, what are you going to do? Even in the final moments there towards that round, it was like a 2v2.
Yeah.
The Shock were not guaranteed to win that. I mean, the gravitic flux comes up there, they catch the Tracer, and then it's all over. So I'm so impressed by San Francisco and showing us that not only do they have a dive composition available to them, the double shield looks really clean.
Yeah, I mean, they were awesome today on all fronts, right? The one map they lose is map number 1, which is like, incidentally for Toronto, is one where the Surefour played where he wasn't supposed to play. But I think, though, you just saw the strength of the Shock roster. We saw Violet on Batiste, Moth picking up the Zen. He can play the Lucio as well. I mean, that's what's so impressive about this team. Is just the depth of all their players and the versatility they have across so many different heroes.
Big fan of this series. We've seen some great Overwatch today.
Yeah.
Before we go, though, we're going to actually get a chance to hear from one of the players with the largest hero pools this side of the Pacific Ocean. It's going to be Rascal with Zoe.
Thank you so much, Mitch and Mr. X. Rascal, congratulations on the victory, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Rascal, Mitch just said it. You are one of the players with one of the largest hero pools. You just can play everything. Last week we saw you play a lot of Echo. What do you think are the 3 keys to victory? How are you going to be a good Echo if you pick her up?
I think first one is positioning, so where you can't get 1 tap or 2 tap from enemy, and second is Razor Beam, so you can focus with team really easy. Like even tank, you can like melt him in 1 second. So like second one is Razor, and third one ult. But ult, if you copy other hero, you have to be better at other heroes. So play if you want to play Echo, you have to play other hero also.
Okay, see, and that's why you're so good, because you can literally play everything. You make it look easy as well. Now, apart from yourself, who's playing Echo on a very high level, which other Echo players have impressed you so far in our league?
I mentioned before on my stream, Dante and KSP, who play on Valiant like Echo, whatever, and EQ. Those are 3 like good Echo, I guess.
All right. And now, since we had hero pools coming in place, did you or your team have to learn new heroes? Do you feel like anyone had to make big adjustments to really fit this new format?
Oh well, I think the biggest problem was not the hero pool. Just we can play, the meta, whatever, like stock some one comp. So the hero pool now was biggest problem. I guess the biggest problem was every meta change. I mean, we have to fix our comp like 2 days V4 match or 1 day's V4 match. So we even we prepare. I mean, for this week we prepare like dive more, but then it changed to poke. And it's come back to dive again, so we got so confused.
All right, so lots of last-minute adjustments coming in. Do you like it though? Is it fun for you, or is it more exciting?
It's kind of stressful.
It's stressful. It definitely is. Yeah, I'm not envying you guys. You have very short turnarounds, but you guys are looking phenomenal right now. Rascal, with the whole COVID-19 situations and us moving the whole tournament online, we unfortunately didn't get to see all the teams playing each other yet. Is there any team you are very excited to face off against?
Philadelphia and Seoul Dynasty.
Right on. Do you think you guys gonna win?
Yeah.
That was a confident yes. I like it. Well, this is already it with our interview. Rascal, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a good day, and we're now heading into a very quick break, and afterwards we are back with the last match of the day. Stay tuned.